Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. My name is Sheila Cohen. I am the president of the Connecticut Education Association, and I am an elementary school teacher. With me this morning are Jeff Leake, CEA Vice President, Mark Waxenberg, CEA Executive Director, Don Williams, CEA Director of Policy, Practice, Research, and Reform, Ray Rosamondo, CEA Research Specialist, and Ann Jellison, Chair of the Connecticut Association of School Administrators. A few years ago, top state policymakers implemented a new system of teacher evaluation, and we are here this morning to discuss that system. It makes sense to begin by clearly stating that the goal of teacher evaluation is twofold. The goal of teacher evaluation is to strengthen educator support and practice and to improve student learning. With 43,000 members across the state, we have had an enormous opportunity to assess the new system against that goal. We have extensively polled and surveyed our members, as well as conducted focus groups with teacher evaluation as the topic. And the news is not good. In fact, our concerns should make everyone, from parents to policymakers, stand up and take notice. And that is because we have concluded that our state's current teacher evaluation guidelines are actually detrimental to student learning. That's right. They're doing more harm than good. And let me point out that it is not only teachers who are voicing concerns. As you will soon hear, administrators too worry and express concern that precious school time that should be focused on children, is being lost to unnecessary complexity and bureaucratic busywork demanded by the new system. There should be a better way, there must be a better way, and there is a better way. Working in close collaboration with teachers and with administrators across the state, we have developed a new plan that we will present next week to the state committee charged with making decisions about evaluation. Our plan calls for changes to improve student learning and to strengthen, simplify, and enrich evaluation and professional development for Connecticut's teachers, to allow the current problems to continue. Serious problems that render teacher evaluations ineffective, inefficient, and meaningless is indefensible. This does not help the professional educator, and it certainly does not help our most vulnerable Connecticut residents, our students. It is time for students, parents, and teachers to have a simplified, coherent, meaningful, and effective strategy in teacher evaluation. And for more specifics, I will turn things over to Mark Waxenberg, a former math teacher and our current CEA Executive Director.
Thank you, Sheila. I would like to start with a little quote, and it says, ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which just passed in Washington, offers a fresh start and much-needed do-over of teacher evaluation. Those words were stated by John King, the new Secretary of Education under President Obama. Here in Connecticut, we have a unique opportunity to rethink our flawed teacher evaluation system. What we are presenting today is the product of months of discussions with teachers, focus groups, and administrators in the classroom, not corporate consultants in the boardroom. Our teacher evaluation proposal takes the best parts of the present system and improves it while eliminating confusing, mandated guidelines that takes precious time away from teaching and learning and defines teachers' and students' success by a test score rather than a student's growth and development. We have no new mandates in our proposal, just a requirement that there be collaboration at the local level between teachers, administrators, superintendents, and board members. Our proposal does not in any way, lessen the accountability and responsibility of teachers and administrators to students and parents of our state, and any group or individual that asserts that it does is ignorant of what is going on in the classrooms across Connecticut, or is an educational snake oil salesman for hedge fund managers and or test companies that are looking to make money on the backs of Connecticut students. Our proposed set of guidelines are simple and once again returns precious teaching time back to the students and encourages creativity, which has been sidelined for the past few years under the baby test mentality promoted by corporate America. Our proposal refocuses our evaluation system from treating students as data points on a spreadsheet to recognizing them as points of light to shine brighter by spending more time on learning and unleashing the innovation and collaboration in local districts to advance student growth and development. Before I get into the specifics of our proposed guidelines, I would ask Ms. Ann Jellison, a principal in Meriden, who is also the chairperson of the Connecticut Association of School Administrators, which represents over 1,000 administrators across Connecticut, to say a few words. Ann?
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here today. As Mark has mentioned, I am the chair of the Connecticut Association of School Administrators, and I am a principal at Israel Putnam Elementary School in Meriden. As a school principal, I wear many hats. An important one is that of instructional leader, who works collaboratively with staff to develop their talents. Real reform in our schools is about attracting and retaining strong educators and keeping them strong through their professional development and continuous learning. That's why I'm pleased that teachers and administrators are working together to improve the system we have for evaluating educators. When the new evaluation system was instituted a few years ago, administrators approached it with a healthy dose of skepticism and hopefulness. We as professionals are always willing to give it our best shot. But after spending hundreds of hours inputting data into various software programs, we've concluded the current system wastes too much time and too many resources. Most importantly, it yields far too little for many students and teachers. It's a one-size-fits-all system that is a poor substitute for a robust system that improves teacher practice so educators can improve student achievement. And it's too focused on counterproductive goals tied to unreliable standardized test scores. I've spent 40 years as a public school educator and served in many capacities, including superintendent of schools, central office staff, and my current role is principal in one of 3 districts, and also as a teacher for many years. I will tell you that I've written evaluation plans and I've had to implement evaluation plans. And if we looked at a cost-benefit analysis, I will tell you that this plan does not pass muster. Strong teaching that produces strong student achievement comes about in a climate of collaboration between teachers and their administrators. This plan provides more ways for teachers and administrators to work together towards more innovative goals that will help our students. This kind of positive change helps sustain a learning community in recognizing that not all students are the same and not all teachers are the same. A productive learning community recognizes the unique skills and ability of each person and raises the bar even higher. That is why my colleagues and I are calling upon state policymakers to fix our teacher evaluation system and to please do it quickly. Our students can't afford to wait. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ann. Again, I think you have in your packet some highlights of our plan, and you also have the plan itself. And in back of me, you see some of the boards that we have that briefly describes the highlights of the plan. I just want to call your attention to the graph here that basically is the pie chart. Being a math teacher, love pie charts. And I think this explains to you and to the audience what we're going from and what we're hoping to go to. If you look at what we have now in our current guidelines, you're looking at a very confusing, poorly implemented at times, very, very subjective way in which we try to establish teacher evaluation systems across the state. And I'm not going to read it to you other than to show the pieces and parts that at times are used, not used, and is used inefficiently in districts across the state. Whereas our plan is very simple, very simple. What we are saying is, as a teacher, as Ann stated as a teacher, Sheila being a teacher, myself as a former teacher, we're talking about my evaluation comprising of the growth and development using multiple indicators of students' growth and development that is in the plan, articulated in the plan, classroom observation or review of practice, which is identified in the plan. Of that, a section called professional responsibility up to 10%, which basically allows for the collaboration among teachers based on the healthy dialogue at the local level. There's accountability throughout this whole plan that's easily identified and spurred by conversations, crucial conversations among teachers, among administrators, board members, superintendents, that unfortunately is being muted now because of the focus on testing in our state. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. One of the key elements that as part of our plan is to return time back to the classroom. Return the time for learning back to the classroom that's been stolen by this misguided mentality of test, test, test. Also, it makes the current 2-year waiver. At present, we have a 2-year waiver from the SBAC exam being part of a teacher's evaluation. What this does is makes that permanent. In effect, it states that no teacher's evaluative goals is going to be dependent upon the statewide mastery test. It isn't now, and all we're doing is saying it will not be in the future as well. For the first time, we recognize innovation in our system. We allow for innovation goals in our plan. Goals that they can decide among the administrator and the teacher that are risky, but nonetheless that they want to take, that they think it would be advantage to the students in their classroom. You can't do it now. The reason why you can't do it is because what individual is going to take a risk when they know that that risk could backfire and adversely affect their employment? This does not do that. It encourages innovation. It encourages the risk-taking that's absolutely necessary for us to move forward in Connecticut. It simplifies it very, very easily. Ours is 12 pages. Present one is, I think, 24, 25. We have 3 major components. We have core requirements. Core requirements, as defined in the guidelines, are parts that every evaluation plan in the state should have. And if they don't, the State Department rejects it for lacking or following core requirements. You then have guiding principles, part 2, that basically says these are the guiding principles that every evaluation tool should be developed from, and they also have to be part of the plan as they look forward to turning it into the State Department. And then you have the guidelines. The guidelines basically are suggested for locals to follow. But does it mandate that those guidelines be such? No. What it says is, these are guidelines for us to use, or for them to use if they see fit. But if they want to deviate from those guidelines, if they instead of have 2 indicators that we're proposing, they want to have 5 like New Haven, they can have them as long as everybody agrees. There's no prohibition here. It expands the opportunities for our students, our teachers, our children, our parents, and our administrators to be creative, to return time to the classroom, and to move forward that way we're supposed to move forward in our state. You know, it's in your packet. I want to call your attention to a study done by one of whom is a PhD at University of Hartford, but other universities. And I think what I find most discouraging is the part that says, I guess it's on page 2, that basically says perceived use of test scores. And without reading it to you, other than to say, right now, SBAC, and I think you all know what our position is on that. But SBAC right now, those tests and those scores are not to be included. We have a waiver to include them in teachers' evaluations. Yet, over 80% of our teachers believe that it's included in their evaluations. I mean, just think about that. It's not, but they think it is. What we've stated very clearly is it's not today and it won't be tomorrow, and your job is to work to see student growth and development in collaboration with your administrator. Now, can you use test scores like other standardized tests like PMTs and things of that nature? That's up to the local. You look at the guidelines, it says yes. It says yes. If you think at the local level that some of the terms, the Dibbles reading test or STAR PMT or Northwest is a value, and the teachers agree and the administrators agree and everybody, use them. Doesn't prohibit it. It says if you're going to use them, you have to use them judiciously. So in summation, without reading line by line, I'll leave that to you, it's basically the unleashing of more time for students to learn and unleashing more time for administrators and teachers to enter into crucial dialogue, crucial conversations that mean it's meaningful for the students around our state and the students' growth and development. So with that, any questions that you may have, myself or Ann or Sheila would be more happy to.
When you say return time back to classroom instead of test, how much testing are we talking about here? I mean, well, I realize this may sound unsophisticated, but to the average person, testing is how you measure what a kid knows.
When I was going to school, as you, Mark, we always had our quizzes, we always had our chapter tests, things of that nature. What I'm talking about is spending over 30 days testing on standardized tests and spending weeks in preparing for those standardized tests. Stealing the time away from the teaching and learning that is necessary for the students in order to grow academically, socially, and emotionally. It does not take away from the fact that we're going to have a standardized test in the state of Connecticut, a mastery test. We don't want to spend 8 weeks preparing for it. The whole idea, even the Commissioner of Education in Connecticut says they should not be prepared for it. You should walk in, you should take the test, and you leave. It's a global view of what the systemic needs are of the state of Connecticut. It's not to be determined as an indicator of a student's success or a teacher's success.
So you're saying the teachers are spending all this time prepping the kids to take the test because they're afraid that if they get bad scores, they'll be out on their ear. Is that right?
I would say that being out on their ear, there would be repercussions.
So
And what we're saying is that when you look at the definition of a goal, you can use the test to identify deficiencies. But if all I'm going to do is drill to get that test done, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing to that child? We know in math, if I knew that I had a child because of the mastery test in those days that couldn't add or subtract fractions, I spent time adding and subtracting fractions with that child. What we're doing now is making sure that, they've got to make sure that goes from point A to point B, or like you said, out on your ear. It's the growth and development. We have to, as educators and as parents has even said, the most recent public poll by the PTA in Connecticut, the high 70% say classroom work is what they consider to be the most important thing for their children. Standardized tests is at 14%. The most recent Gallup poll says 17%. So what are we doing? All we're doing is looking for a score to make somebody feel good or feel bad or mislabel students as failures. Taking a child, it's anecdotal but it's true, taking a child that's in the classroom or a student that's in the classroom who's wheeled in on a respirator and say they need a math goal? What are we doing? Let's get back to sanity. Let's talk about growth and development. Let's talk about what's good for the students in the classroom without ignoring the accountability. We know what our job is. You think teachers wake up every day saying, how can I mess up a kid? They go in every day working like crazy to make sure that every child in their classroom is meeting or exceeding the goals that they have established for themselves or their parents expect. Yet all we care about is what's that test score look like. It's nonsense. It's nonsense, and we have to get rid of it in the state of Connecticut. It's been recognized as such in Washington. And those that say stay the course in the Connecticut remind me of the captain of the Titanic. Look what happened with him.
So should student performance be part of a teacher's evaluation?
Absolutely, absolutely, but not a single test score. And if you look at the guidelines, we define what we mean by a student's performance. A variety of methodologies and a variety of indicators, not just that test score.
Well, can the standardized test be part of that variety, or you don't want that standardized test score to be part of the variety?
What the waiver exists today says, the state mastery test is not to be used in that capacity. That's present law, present waiver, if you will. We are saying that should continue. So there's no new ground there. We're just saying continue that. We are allowing in standardized tests, commercially standardized tests, if a local believes that they're of value to guide instruction. Perfect example, the Dibbles, which I believe is a reading test at the lower grades. That's been used for years. We're not saying you can't use it. We're saying use it judiciously. Don't make it be the end-all. Progress monitoring tests, STAR, Northwest, and I know I'm using maybe terms that are within the framework and the lexicon of teachers, but no, the answer to your question is we are not prohibiting it. We're saying if you're going to use them, it has to be agreed to by all parties that we're going to include it in our system, and this is how we're going to include it.
How much of the evaluation should student performance be?
Multiple indicators of
I
student.
can't see that far, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Multiple indicators. Can we put that up right? The multiple indicators of student growth and development is 50%. It's
So SBAC could be included in that 50%?
no. SBAC is prohibited as it is now.
Okay. So basically you're going to completely cut the tie between SBAC scores and teacher evaluations,
That's the way it is now, and we're proposing that's the way it should be.
so we'll continue that way.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about all the multiple testing to prepare, I mean, the test doesn't force the schools to do this, but it's the teacher that has the pressure to do it without being ordered to do it, sort of?
Well, I'm going to ask, I'm not going to speak for an administrator, but I think what we're hearing from teachers is that when the emphasis by the policymakers in Hartford are clearly indicating that they want to see test scores rise, then it becomes a little bit more of a mandate rather than a suggestion. So what we're saying is enough already.
And under ESSA, don't you have to include a standardized test score unless you're one of those pilot districts?
No, I mean, there's 7 states that can, we're hopefully that we could be part of that. But when you say includes standardized tests, state standardized testing has to continue under ESSA, but it does not have to be linked to a teacher's evaluation. I mean, you're looking at it again, standardized tests. I personally was on the Mastery Test Implementation Committee back in 1986. That was created to give a systemic view of what's going on in the state of Connecticut regarding resources, what the needs are, to drive finances, to drive program. That's the purpose of it. We've made it into a good housekeeping seal of approval for a student or for a teacher. It's nonsense.
Now, you guys, a few years ago, as part of PEAK, you were okay with having SBAC account for 22.5%, right? Or having whatever standardized test was.
I wasn't at that table. I can only bring to the table what we believe is in the best interest of students and teachers. I believe at that time the leadership abstained from that decision. That said, we learn. And as Ann said previously, everybody had a little skepticism but had hope. After 4 years, there's no more hope. It's damage. Damage to students.
Is it 4 or 3 years that it's been?
Oh, 3, I'm sorry, well, 3, but there was a pilot year, so.
Right, but the full implementation is about 3.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And we had concerns after the first year, and as you know, we did the study last year, and we reaffirmed it again this year. Interestingly enough, just to give you some background, we did, as we worked with our focus groups of teachers across the state and administrators with Ann's cooperation, her group, We also involved and had what I called readers, superintendents and academicians across the state review the plan for comment and for their input. And they commented appropriately, and we modified appropriately based on their suggestions. But it's what I call a well thought out proposal that took us months to develop, recognizing that ESSA was hopefully going to be passed this year. We were not going to just come up with something and say no. We wanted to come up with what we believe is an alternative. And understand, this is not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If you were to compare the two, you're going to see similarities in certain areas between the existing guidelines and ours. It's just that we refocus them and we make sure that it's for clarity and allowing innovation at the local level. So in summation, we're very, very hopeful that as we discuss these proposals with the legislative branch and the executive branch of government, that they will see the wisdom. As Sheila said, we are going to be bringing this to the next peak meeting on February 4th or 5th, and for discussion and deliberation, and we're hopeful that that will prove beneficial as we move forward.
Can you tell us, Mark, after 3 full years of implementation, has any school teacher been let go anywhere of membership of your union because of a bad evaluation?
No, you know, the ironic part about that, Mark, is I can't say that they have, and the problem is, that's the point. The point is people are, they're becoming safe. In other words, if I know that my job is going to depend on a test score, I'm going to focus on that test score and nothing else. That's the problem. The problem is we are becoming and holding our teachers accountable for a test score. Nobody's going to, you know, I mean, it's not about teachers losing their job. It's about students losing the opportunity to develop appropriately, academically, socially, and emotionally. I'm not concerned about the issue regarding, again, anybody that says that this is backing away from accountability just is a fool or a tool.
Nice.
In the future, when we
Just
ask
call me Donald Trump.
in the future, when we ask you questions, Mark, try not to hold back so much.
Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you all.